The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys!
This is Cowboys StoryLine with Nick Eatman.
What's up? Welcome to Cowboys StoryLine. It is Wednesday, May 28th. I'm Nick Eatman. And let's talk some Cowboys football for you for the next hour and a half or so. I want to hear from you guys. 888-855-2297. The Cowboys are in the middle of their OTA practices. They got a couple more weeks of OTAs, I think. And then, 2 more weeks of OTAs. And then a 3-day mini camp in the middle of June. And then that's it until training camp starts in late July. Mid to late July. The Cowboys keep moving that date up a little bit. We'll be there. Looks like practices will be starting at that last week in July. We'll be there around May 20th. I'm sorry, May 20th. July 20th and 21st is when Cowboys will be getting there. I don't know if that's official yet, but it's around that time. And practice will start after that. But let's talk about what they're doing right now with OTAs. Still adding some pieces, I would think, before we get to training camp. I don't think this roster's completely set. It never really is. So we'll see what kind of moves they might make, and I'll hear from you guys on what do you think they should do. Let's talk about it here, and let's go to our first caller who's been holding for a little bit, Zach in Germany. Zach, what's up?
Nick, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Happy Memorial Day. Just take a moment and reflect on all those vets and what that sacrifice was. So I hope you had a good one with your family.
Of course. Thank you so much. Yes.
Last week I threw some softballs at you. This week I want to bring it a little bit harder, play villain.
You gonna bring the heat?
I'm going to bring the heat. And before I hang up, I got to call out one of our captains, but I'll save that for the end. All right. So I'll start with the running back room. I think we had a great draft. However, running back room scares me a little bit. Right now, it looks like Javonte is going to be the probably RB1. And I know we have Blue and a couple other guys, but I wanted to highlight some stuff with Javonte that makes me concerned. Last year, his yards after contact, he was ranked 37th out of all the starting running backs. There was only 32, so yards after contact is a concern, and he only had 4 broken tackles. For reference, the leader of that, of course, was Derrick Henry. He had 42. So when you look at some of those stats, and he's now going to be going into year 3 removed from that knee injury, I'm a little concerned with the running back room. Doesn't mean that we're out of the running for making a trade or doing some other things, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the running back situation. If I was looking at it now prior to camp, it looks like, in my opinion, probably Miles Sanders is the odd man out along with Deuce Vaughn. But I want to get your thoughts on that. Linebackers. If we're going to go into our base defense, who do you think are our starting 3 linebackers? And then the last note, like I said before I hang up, I got to call out Rob real quick.
Okay.
2 weeks ago, he had mentioned his favorite player of all time was a New York Giant, Lawrence Taylor. I know he's a New Yorker. I'm a former New Yorker myself. But, man, that one hurts a little bit. So I want to get your thoughts on that, and I'll hang up and listen. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Zach. I guess I didn't remember him saying that his favorite player of all time is Lawrence Taylor. But, I mean, if he did, he did. I mean, it's okay. I mean, like that doesn't mean that's his favorite team. The Giants obviously not his favorite team, but if that's one of his favorite players. I mean, Deion Sanders was one of my favorite players. All right. Thanks for the call, Zach. Thanks for the call. All right. Deion, Randy Moss. I mean, those guys are some fun players to watch. They did a lot of their damage against the Cowboys. So that's fine. We don't need to get into all of that on who's favorite player. Maybe, I mean, I'm sure he meant it more, but one of the best players of all time. All right, let's go backwards on the questions here. For linebackers, you said if they go across the board on linebacker in their base defense, who would it be? I mean, I would imagine early in the season, if Overshown isn't back yet, I would say, you're looking at Kenneth Murray, Leofau, Sanborn as those 3 guys. Overshown will factor into that. Obviously, if he's here, probably I would think at some point maybe knock out Sanborn, but who knows? I mean, who knows how all that develops? But that's a good problem to have. You got 3 solid linebackers. I think Overshown coming back would be really good there. And I imagine that he would. I think the narrative on that, I think, has changed in the last few weeks or so. I think now there's a little bit more optimism that he can come back, especially with what he looks out at practice right now, just some of the rehabbing that he's doing without a brace. I think, in my opinion, he looks ahead of schedule. Again, certainly not a rehab trainer there for his knee, so I don't know exactly what they're asking him to do, but it does look a little bit more promising than I think we thought. As for the running back spot, yeah, I mean, all it takes is a one play, two or 3 plays where now everything changes for what the perception at running back is. And so just because Javonte Williams took some snaps at the first, then that doesn't mean he's going to be the guy. And so we've seen sometimes running backs can kind of resurrect their career a little bit, but probably it is what it is as far as what Javonte Williams, what type of back he's going to be. They're going to try the committee approach, I would think. But, they would love for Jaden Blue to take this thing over, but he's going to have to prove that he can do that, obviously. I'm not saying that they won't go and make a move there. So I'm just not as worried about the running back position because I love what they did. It's not like they went with Bass and Hoffman and then they're going with other runners. They went with the first round pick. They're trying to get better right up the front with their offensive line. You get better at the offensive line, then I think I'm not saying you could plug anyone in there, but I think it changes on who you can put in there. And so that's what I like. They're kind of approaching this inside out, getting the offensive line as good as it can be, and then after that we'll see what the running back position looks like. To me, I think Sanders is I ultimately think he's going to be the starting running back. I don't know why. I just feel like that will be the guy. You said he's the odd man out. I kind of think he might be the guy to start. That just goes to show what crazy running back situation they have here. You've got guys, some of the guys could be the starters, some of them could be the odd man out. All right, let's go to Chris in Saratoga Springs. Is that our next caller? Chris?
Brian.
I don't see him on my list. Brian, what's up, Brian?
Hey, good morning, Mr. Eatman. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm all right, man. I wish I was in Saratoga Springs. It sounds like a cool place to visit.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Hey, so I'm kind of following up on what the last caller said in like what concerns you, and obviously the running back room concerns him.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's the defensive one tech and, of course, cornerback. Yeah. And here's my thoughts, and then I'll hang up and listen to what you think about it. I'm wondering, just looking at what we have at one tech, I'm wondering, is the third defensive scheme and coach in 3 years. You don't know who's going to like who, right?
Right.
So I don't know what they're going to get out of Mozzie, obviously. And then we got the 2 seventh-round picks, and the guy from last year is still here. And maybe somebody will emerge out of that bunch. But I think maybe the starter's not on the roster right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just my thought. And then at corner, I actually don't want them to go out and get help because we got so many people coming back. If they go out and get help, I think that stops somebody from getting on the field.
Well, who's the help?
As they get healthy.
Who's the help and who's the somebody? You know what I mean? Like that's yeah. I've heard of progress stoppers before. Deion Sanders stopped the progress of Alundis Bryce when he was here in 1995. I think that was okay. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, progress stopper is not always a bad thing if you're getting the right type of guy in here. So, are you talking about like a Kalen Carson that wouldn't get on the field, or Revel maybe because you're bringing another guy in?
Well, just look at it. If everybody's healthy, we have a good room.
Yes.
So, once and at some point next year, barring another new injury, that's going to happen. With Revel and Bland and Diggs. I would really like to see Elam Elam and Carson and what was the other guy that we laughed because we said he played his butt off last year? Butler.
Josh Butler, yeah.
Yeah. I would love to see them at least get a chance. Sometimes a change of venue helps a guy, and maybe that's the case for Elam. He was well regarded coming out of college. I don't know what happened in Buffalo, but he was thought well of on all the draft shows. So that's my thoughts. And like I said, with the one tech, I'm wondering if that starter's even on the roster, man. I'll hang up and listen to your answer.
All right, Brian. Thanks for the call. One thing I'll say about the defensive tackle spot, and you're right. When you get a new coaching scheme in here, they like who they like, and they have their favorites and all that. And I'll just say this. Eberflus had a strong influence in the room on draft day. I mean, I think Izaraku is probably a big example of that, where they were looking at another position. They were looking at corner and kind of in the same boat as the Revel, maybe getting a guy that was somewhat banged up, but, is still a good player. But Izaraku was the one that he wanted, Eberflus. I say this to say that if they thought that they couldn't get anything out of Mozzie, that there was no one technique here, I don't think they wait till the 7th round to get a Jay Toya. You know what I mean? I feel like they feel like that they have something there. And I did talk to Eberflus about before they had re-signed Osa and Mozzie, and it was sort of off the record, just kind of just chatting there when he first got here, and he said he really, really likes Osa and he really likes Mozzie. So it's one thing to say that. It's another thing to come back and say, well, we didn't draft anyone. It's not like they were saying we love the guards we have, and then they go and they draft Tyler Booker. I mean, it's a little bit different. So they didn't make any moves at defensive tackle, really, other than adding Solomon Thomas, who's really more of a 3 technique, and I think he'll have a nice rotation with Osa. But as far as the one goes, if they're saying that they like Mozzie, it looks like it, because they're going to give him a good opportunity to take this job and keep it, I guess. All right, now we go to Chris in Saratoga Springs, New York.
Hey, Nick, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. The Belmont's coming to Saratoga Springs, coming up in about a little over a week.
All right.
The horse racing.
Oh, yeah?
Looking forward to that.
The Belmont Stakes? That's at Saratoga Springs? Is it always there, or they just move it around?
No. They moved it to Saratoga while they're working on Belmont in New York.
I got you.
Last year was the first year it was away from Belmont. So this year it'll be back in Saratoga, and then it'll be back in Belmont the following year when the track is done.
Are you like a trifecta guy? What was it?
I'm more of the exacta guy.
Exacta box? Do you box?
Yes,
it?
for sure.
You have to box
yeah.
it, right? Okay.
You have to box it, because I'm always going to lose if it's straight. It's only going to be the opposite every time.
Yeah. Oh, I'm dangerous at those places, and not in a good way. Not in a good way. First time I've ever been to a horse track, I was like, "This is awesome," but why do I have to wait 25 minutes to the next race? So I will go inside to all the TVs, and I'll just go and make bets on other, like over Louisiana Downs or something like that. And I don't know anything. I can't wait 25 minutes for the next race. So yeah, good times.
Yeah.
Good times.
It is good times. I just want to talk about the running back situation. I'm not really worried about it like you. I think if the offensive line steps up and I think they're gonna this year make that leap. I'm not saying you can put anybody back there, but Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders. I mean, they're all, and the running backs we drafted, and even Deuce Vaughn, they're capable enough. If our line's doing what I think they're going to do this year, I think they're going to do well. My main concern for me, you just talked about, is defensive tackle. I really do like the kid we drafted. I think Dane Brugler had him as a 4th-round draft pick.
Toya?
Range.
Jay Toya?
Yes, I do like him, and I'm hoping that could help us in the defensive tackle position, but I'm more worried about the defensive tackle position. I'm really not concerned with the running back, really at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, who do you think is the best one, though?
I like Javonte Williams. I heard a report that he said he's the healthiest he's been. He said he wasn't even 100% last year, and he said he's the knee, and he's as healthy as he's ever been, since the injury, obviously. But if he's healthy, I loved him coming out of college. He had a really good rookie year in Denver. I think if he's back to the Javonte Williams that everybody thought he was going to be coming out of college, I think he's going to do great things with Dallas.
Yeah, and I think so too. You have anything else, Chris?
Nope, that's it, Nick.
All right. Thanks for the call always. Yeah, I mean, you got to remember when they talk about when Clayton Adams when they're talking about what kind of running game they want and have this physical, violent type of running style. I think he fits the mold of what they're trying to do there. So again, different players in different schemes. I think he might work a little bit better than what they're trying to do. James Conner in Arizona may not work as good as in other schemes as I think he did there in Arizona. And when you talk about running backs, you're talking about which player. I'm seeing NFL Network on the screen. They got the top 50, top 100 plays of all time. I just can't imagine Tony Dorsett's run is number 35 on the list. And there's 99-yard runs. You're not going to find a longer run. You're certainly not going to find another one with 10 players on the field. I can't imagine there's 34 better plays in the history of the NFL than a 99-yard run, shorthanded run at that by Tony Dorsett. But maybe it's because he was my favorite player of all time. And I remember the game. I remember. I didn't get to watch it because it was Monday Night Football. I had to go to bed, but I do remember that game. I can't imagine there being better. But anyways, you talk about the running back position, and I agree. I think as long as that line is fixed, I think more guys will be able to. I think it will be opened up to see who could win that job. But I'm not as worried about it. All right. Here's another person I'm not as worried about as I was before, and at least I hope not. And that's Randy in Texarkana. Randy,
what's going on?
How we doing?
Doing great, brother. Getting better every day.
That is so good. Every time I look when you call in, I get excited because I'm like, man, he's back again.
Yep. Hopefully everything will get back to normal here real soon. I did get a little bit of a setback on my news. I hadn't found out yet, but I thought I was going to be able to escape having to do treatments and chemos and all that, and my surgeon said, no, hold on that just for a little bit. I still have to go to the cancer doctor, and he's going to let me know if I have to do all that. So that's still up in there, but I feel great.
Will you stay off the tractor? How about that?
Yeah, that's hard, man. I'm getting a little stir crazy, but
yeah.
So I'm always the type of person that looks for the good in anything that's bad. I've always been that way, but for some reason something's sticking out to me, and it's the opposite, and it's with the Pickens deal. I love that we got him. I think he's going to be awesome, but I'm wondering if the Cowboys is already handling this the wrong way. Everybody, the players, the coaches, you see the interviews where they're saying, "Oh, we've got two number ones. We've got two number ones." Should we already be saying that? Because if Pickens goes out there and he starts putting up the same numbers as CD, what are the chances you think he's going to say, well, hey, if I'm considered a number one and my numbers look like this, y'all might want to throw me a $100 million contract.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I don't see us being able to do that with two receivers.
No.
And so you think that maybe they should have just held off on doing all that bragging and let's just wait and see first, And I don't know. That's the feeling I'm getting, that it might be fine for a year, but that might be all we have this guy because he might want to move on.
And I think the Cowboys understand that, and they know that there will be a comp pick. In the future, if he goes and signs a big deal and they can't re-sign him, then that would be the case, and then they would probably go and they'll draft a receiver number one like they almost did this year. So that's probably what's going to happen here. But I have a different take maybe on that on how to handle it. But do you have any other questions, Randy, or comments?
That, and I was just wondering about the Solomon Thomas. How do you think he's going to look for us? You think he's big enough for us up front?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know much about him, so I was just curious.
Yeah, I think obviously it doesn't matter. He was drafted third overall. I mean that doesn't matter. I mean, at this point, it's what has he done in the league,
Right.
and also when you have some talent like that, can the coaching staff get enough out of you? And so, I think he will be an active defensive tackle that can get up the field, and that would probably give some good minutes and have a good rotation with Osa. I think that'll be a good competition there. I think it's a good backup plan for sure, a defensive tackle. And also when they want to move things around and maybe play, like a 3rd and 8 where you want to have some rushers, or maybe a 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 4 where he could play defensive end at times as well. So he's got some versatility. Little bit older, but kind of like your Chauncey Golston type that can play a little bit both sides.
Right. Gotcha. 10-4. All right, buddy. I'll let you get to the next people.
All right, Randy. Well,
appreciate it, guys. Y'all have a good one.
You too, man. Stay healthy and keep calling us back. The part about the handling the Pickens thing and all that, I think they understand that, what he's been and that he's kind of high strung, and that they want to put him in the right environment and get him feeling wanted. I mean, that's the thing. When you get traded, you've been traded by a team that drafted you, and now what does that do to you emotionally? They're welcoming him, and by doing that, there's like, we've got a great player here. This is how they view him, and I think when you have a fresh start, you want to make sure it's fresh, right? You don't want to come into the situation and say, well, here's the 1, here's the 2. I mean, you've got a guy in CeeDee Lamb who is, I think he's a top 3 or 4. I saw a list the other day where they had him 6th best receiver in the league. I think that's ridiculous. I think he's top 3 for sure. And when you're a top 3, you're an all-pro, Pro Bowl type receiver, to have another guy come in here who hasn't done what you've done, and to call him a number 1 also, it speaks speaks volumes to me for CD to be able to say that, because deep down he probably is like, I'm 1 and he's 2. But he's not doing that. He's showing that there's no ego here. And you're trying to put George Pickens in the best space possible to go and be as great as he can be. We know he can be great. We also know, and we've seen that he can be detrimental at times. So I think everybody's saying the right things to get him in here and get him as comfortable as possible. Because if he is comfortable, then he can go and ball out and be a number 1 type receiver, and I think that benefits everyone. So I think that's the approach they're saying, is let's get him in the right headspace here so he can be the dynamic player that we've seen on tape, and we can see more of that than we see of the other. All right, let me get to our next caller here. Robbie's in Cocoa Beach, Florida.
Hey, Nick, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
It's going to be hard to follow Randy up, man. He's such a superstar. But I hope to come in and at least, hey, it's great to hear from you, Randy. That's for sure, my brother.
For sure.
I agree with everything you said about Pickens, and I think it works. It's kind of a no-brainer. And there's not a whole lot to add. If we do great and he does well, then we've done well. And if he goes and gets a great deal, then he gets a great deal.
Right.
And if he doesn't, then we don't re-sign him, and we go on from there. Kind of simple. I wanted to talk about tackles today, though. Offensive and defensive. You're in the building. You see these guys. I've heard good things about Guyton. I've heard bad things about Guyton. I've heard good things about Mozzie. I've heard bad things about Mozzie. You say Mozzie's put on weight in a good way, right? And Guyton has put on weight, but he looks lean.
Yeah. And
if you can answer those questions and talk about those guys, I'll take it off there and be short today, my brother.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much, Robbie. It's just like with Schottenheimer. Everybody's undefeated and winless, I guess, but everybody's is great here in May and June. That's kind of where we are, and I think Mozzie's. They're saying the right things. They're saying the right things about Tyler Guyton, but we saw it last year too with Guyton, and he kind of hit that wall, and Mozzie's kind of hit one as well in his career. So to sit here and say that hey, everything's great, they're turning the corner, and this is going to be the best year of Mozzie's career, which isn't really saying a lot. I mean, you'd hope so. You would hope so for sure. I mean, having the best career, of the best season of Micah's career, I mean, it's kind of challenging for him to do because he's had so many great years. But to sit here and say that these guys are going to be, I'd be lying to you. I don't know, and no one else does either. They can say that they're doing, they're on the right track, but that doesn't mean that they are. Just like with Schottenheimer, he's saying the right things. Everyone's buying in. Everyone's excited. He's kind of flipped the script, which is an amazing feat. But, struggle in that first game against Philly, and then we're back to reality again. So, and that's the nature of the business. So I just think everyone's saying the right things about Mozzie, Tyler Guyton. It looks like they are ready to kind of turn that corner, both of them. And not only would that be great for them, but the Cowboys need that to happen because they drafted them in the first round. And you need your first-round picks, especially when you're not going to be, big in free agency. Those first-round picks have to hit. And for the most part, with this team, they do. These two right here certainly have to. And I think we'll see. We'll see what happens with them. But so far, so good. But then again, you can't even really wait till training camp, and you got to wait till the pads come on and they're ready to hit. And in most cases, it's going to be early in the preseason, if not just the regular season. So we'll find out. We'll find out soon enough. All right, let's go to, is it Chantel in Madison, Mississippi?
Yeah, that's me.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. Let's make sure. Hey, first time caller.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Well, what's going on with you?
Nothing much. Really wanted to dig in and talk about the lineman that we have on the team. I'm hearing a lot of people are talking about Guyton. I'm hearing a couple of things about Nate Thomas. I wanted to know, like, when it comes to this guy, Nate Thomas, I mean, how is he looking out there? Like, how is he adapting to the offensive schemes? I know he got drafted last year. We didn't get to see him play, but
right.
What's your thoughts about that?
About Nate Thomas?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, his big deal has always been the injuries. I think talent-wise, if it wasn't for injuries in college, and there were a lot of them, I think you're talking about a third-round pick type of player from a talent standpoint, maybe better. But the injuries were serious. I mean, we're talking ACL. We're talking, I think there was shoulder, back, and then maybe a little bit of a heart condition. So serious stuff for him. But last year he was banged up some as well. I think he's a sleeper. I think he's a guy that if he shows that he's healthy and he can just get, no one's talking about him except for you, but no one really calls in to talk about him. And that could be a good thing. It could be a good thing if you can kind of put it all together, then especially because the big thing going for him is that he can play both guard and tackle. And so that's basically 4 out of your 5 spots that you can plug a guy in. If he's healthy enough, he's certainly big enough and strong enough. So he's just got to put it together. And he hasn't done it yet, but that doesn't mean he won't.
Yeah, that's really true. And I didn't know about, all the injuries in college, but that's what I was just seeing, trying to see when it comes to, like, putting our O-lineman together for this upcoming season because, we want him to be the best. But, that's why I'm like, wanted to know some information about him to see what we kind of have out there. Hopefully, he makes it and he, stays healthy and presents himself to be ready. But, I was just thinking, do you think Guyton is also going to be good? I'm hearing that they're coming in and he's at OTAs, he's gaining a little bit of weight or something. That's what, just hearing the talks out there. But what's your thoughts on him? Yeah,
my thoughts on him, I kind of said it in the last caller too. I just feel like he's doing everything right. He's got his body, in better shape. He was here a lot in the offseason. So he did the necessary things to kind of take that next step. This is when when players take the biggest step, in my opinion, is that first to second year. They figured out how to be a pro, how to work out, what to eat, what not to eat, when to go to bed, when to have fun, but when to be serious about football. And so I think he's doing all of those things. Now he's just got to put it together. And for him, and I hate to say it, it's lining up right. It's figuring out, getting your feet right in the middle of your stance. He's not played a lot of football in his life. He's just a great athlete for his size, and he's got the feet for it. He's got to figure out how to play left tackle in the NFL. Not the easiest spot in the world, but I think he can. He's a smart guy, and I think if he wants it, and it sounds like he does, if he wants it, then he'll make himself better. And I think that's what he's on track to do right now.
Yeah. Well, listen, appreciate you talking to me. Thank you for the answer.
Yeah, thanks for the
conversation. Thanks for answering.
Well, call back, Chantel. Call back for sure. Good to have you on the crew here for the Cowboys Storyline. We don't get a lot of calls from Mississippi. I like the Madison, Mississippi. All right, good stuff. Let's go to break here for our first break at Cowboys Storyline. We'll be right back after this.
Discover Aiden, the official luggage partner of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. Known for top-tier engineering and craftsmanship, Aiden offers more than just bags. Originating from Australia and designed in New York, it merges fashion, design, and culture. Used by Dallas Cowboys players, staff, and the entire organization, Aiden provides style and functionality for all travelers. Visit AidenTheBrand.com and use code AidenXCowboys for 25% off your purchase. Travel like your favorite stars with Aiden.
How do you tell the world about all the great gifts in the Yeti store? Let her rip, Troy.
All right, folks, let's get started with the Yeti French Press. Enjoy coffee that stays hot for hours in a French press. 34 ounce for you, 6'4" for the cruise. The Yeti French Press. Up next, waterproof bags. Bags waterproof. Submersible waterproof doubles. Waterproof bags. World's mostly water, so get a waterproof Yeti bag. Do I smell something cooking? Oh, new cast iron skillets made to be passed down like Mama's recipes. Take a steak, cornbread, cobbler's pot pie, and potatoes next level with 3 sizes of Yeti cast iron skillets.
Gear, gifts, and product experts. Visit the Yeti store on McKinney Street and at South Lake Town Square today.
Altec Lansing has been perfecting sound since 1927, bringing you decades of audio excellence to elevate your Dallas Cowboys tailgate ritual. Equip your next pregame with the Sound Rover 180 with 6 hours of playtime, built-in microphone, multicolor light modes, and a rugged exterior that's built to last. Visit AltecLansing.com/Cowboys15 for 15% off your Sound Rover 180. That's AltecLansing.com/Cowboys15 for 15% off. Altec Lansing, official audio partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Back to Cowboys Storyline.
It's that time of the year to get your kids in the Dallas Cowboys youth football and dance camps presented by Invisalign. Athletes of all skill levels, ages 6 to 16, are invited to learn from former NFL players and the Cowboys cheerleaders at Ford Center at the Star in Frisco. Visit DallasCowboys.com/camps to learn more. All right, let's go back to the phone lines here. We've gone back overseas. Hopefully we got a better connection than we had last week. How about Mike in Birmingham, England? Mike.
Please tell me you can hear me this time.
I can. How are you doing?
Oh, thank goodness for that. I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I don't know what happened last week, but it was fine when I was talking to Chris, so I guess we can agree that it must have been your fault, I guess.
Oh, my fault, huh? Okay, all right. Sure, why not? Hey, Mike, before we get started, I just want to tell you, and I said it off the line, but thank you so much for our jerseys. Our yellow, that's Watford, right?
Yeah. No, you're very welcome, and made me laugh with your school bus comment. Welcome to my world. Every Saturday I look like a school bus. So
that's okay.
There you go. No, you're very welcome.
How did they do this year, Watford?
Well, they're in the Championship. They've been out of the Premier League for a few years now, and mid-table we're in a bit of a transition sort of time, but not in danger of relegation, not really in danger of getting promoted. So we'll see what next year brings. That's
kind of the same spot as my team, and I don't know if I told you this story, but about 10 years ago, maybe 11, we were all Broadus was kind of leading the charge. Everybody wanted everyone to pick a team, so I just picked a random team from the Premier League. I picked Swansea, and they were okay for a couple of years, and then they got down to the Championship League, and that's where they've been for a while. I still follow them a little bit, hoping they will get up there, but they haven't. But it's probably about the same as Watford, right in there.
Yeah. Yeah,
All
similar size club. So yeah. But that's a good shout. It's far more interesting than saying you're a Liverpool or Manchester United fan, isn't it? So,
yeah.
So.
All right. Well, Mike, let's talk Cowboys football. What do you got for us?
Let's do that. A couple of things. First of all, I've got the biggest news from this off season is I'm coming to Dallas.
Nice.
I've got my tickets for the Packers game, flights. I've got a hotel. I've got the long-suffering friend to come with me. So I am so excited. I cannot wait. So that's that. And just in terms of a lot of people have been talking about expectations, and so I listened back last week. Loved listening to Michael from Bowling Green and his 14-3. I'll certainly take that. But my take is I went very high very early on them last year, and we know how that turned out. So I'm just kind of holding it back a little bit. I think on that schedule we've got 6 games that you would probably have us as favourites for. That doesn't mean we necessarily win them, but 6 that I think we should win. There are 4 that look pretty tricky. Well, again, doesn't mean we can't win them, but you wouldn't expect it. And then the other 7 for me are all 50-50 games, and it's going to depend a lot on, injuries and how things go. All the unknowns. We don't know how Schottenheimer's team is going to play. We don't know. We're excited about Pickens. I'm excited about Pickens. We don't know how it's going to pan out. The draft looked good. We don't know how those guys are going to do. So it's an exciting place to be because we're on the cusp of a season that could go either way. And just one more thing, Nick, just as a general NFL point, just something that bothers me a lot because we're coming up towards the season now where we'll have the training camp and then the pre-season games. And in those pre-season games, we'll get to see some of the guys that we don't see that often. And then after that, there is no game time for them whatsoever. And, we were talking about soccer earlier and how in soccer teams, when the big teams have got a young player, they loan them out to the smaller teams. So we've had a guy from Chelsea. His long-term future isn't with a team like Watford, but he comes to us, he gets game time, and he develops, and hopefully he goes back and has a great career with Chelsea. And is there any scope in the NFL for linking up with the UFL, the CFL, so that those guys get some actual proper game time? And with that, I'll leave you to it and hopefully speak again soon.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for the call, Mike. I'm not 100% sure what you're asking there about what they can do. If the NFL is going to link up with another league or at least with those players, give them opportunities. I mean, they will. I mean, the Cowboys have done it. I mean, 2 of their all-pro players have been guys from the USFL, which is now pretty much the UFL. The tricky part about getting those players in is just that they've been playing football like they're playing right now. They're playing football all summer, so they're in good shape, but they're also somewhat worn down. And so, to think you're going to get a guy in here that's going to contribute a lot, it's hard to fathom, but it's happened. It's happened, and it's happened a couple of times. So I think that's, all teams look at it. They know they know that you can get some good players there. And so that's, if that's what you're asking, I think that all teams will be looking that way. As far as any kind of connection joint thing, no, I mean, I don't see that happening. I would like that. I think that would be ideal. I think ultimately it would be great if you could have 16 teams in a league like that, where maybe 2 of them, maybe each team kind of goes to 2 teams. For instance, like a San Antonio would have a team, and a lot of their players are maybe allocated by the Cowboys and the Texans or something like that. That would put some football brand in other cities, other markets. It also would keep them connected, and they tried that with NFL Europe, for a while. I mean, but personally, I think it would be great if they could do some kind of G League type thing, but I don't know if we're we're at that point, and I don't know if that's something the NFL would ever want to do. All right, let's go to Lewis in Langston, Oklahoma.
Hey, what's going on?
What's up, man?
Man, not much, man. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't even gonna backtrack a lot because I done missed a couple weeks of getting talk to you. So I'll just say I'm ready for the season to start, just so I can call you a million times.
All right.
Just so I can get. But secondly, man, I know they're not doing no hitting or nothing like that, but have y'all gotten to see them line up as far as the defensive line?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been very invested in the Mozzie Smith thing since they drafted him. So how does the front four look, and like as far as like starting lineups, I guess maybe if they, like I said, I know they're not doing any hitting, but once they run out there, and we know Micah's not there right now, but like how do they drop in the first four, and who's coming in second team after that? If y'all have any, if y'all gotten to see anything, because those are the things that I kind of see. I want to know what that rotation looks like.
I can tell you right now. I can tell you how they lined up the very first time that they did it. They had at the left end spot was Dante Fowler, and the tackles were Osa and Mozzie, and then the right defensive end was Peyton Turner, former first-round pick. Yeah, Peyton Turner. So again, Micah's out. Sam Williams is still rehabbing an injury. And that was the rotation ahead of Marshawn Nealon, ahead of Zaraku. But it's it's first game. I mean it's first practice. It wasn't even a game. So and Schottenheimer even said that you're going to see guys running with the first team that aren't going to be first teamers, and you're going to see guys moving. Sometimes they're going to jump into the first team. They're just trying to get all the combinations out there together. So, but Peyton Turner is the guy that people forget about. And
right. How does he look? I mean, because I don't know nothing about him. I know he's a first round pick, but as far as anything else, like I don't know. I don't. Does he have any stats to go back on, or is he just a big body like another body right now?
That he's a guy that has showed it in college to the point where they like somebody. The Saints were like, we got to draft him. He has not lived up to that. And mainly because of injury. And so last year he was healthy, and I think that he showed he might have had just a couple of sacks, but I do think from a disruptive standpoint, from pressures, that he put some stuff on tape that's like, hey, if this guy's starting to turn the corner, let's get in on this. He's 6'6", 270, so he's a big guy. And he's obviously the Cowboys liked him, must have liked him coming out as well. So but. It was a cheap, look at a guy that has had some potential in the past. But he's going to have to. I mean,
is he more of a run stopper or a pass rusher?
I would at 6'6", 270. I mean, he's almost a power forward. So I would, you know what I mean. I would think probably, I would say probably not one of either, which is why he's in the boat that I don't think he's a true pass rusher. But he's probably a guy that can hold the edge a little bit there. But all things considered, Micah, Dante Fowler, and then I would think they would, Nealon, Ezaraku, Sam Williams. I mean, I have Peyton Turner about as sixth when it's all healthy. But if I'm wrong, great. So it's a good problem to have, especially when your number one guy is arguably the best in the NFL. Because that's going to make. And I always think, I don't know how much football you watched back in the day, but Freeney was great for the Colts, but he made Mathis on the other side pretty good as well. And you can have that kind of combination. Carl Banks on the other side of an LT. Fowler, Nealon, and Ezaraku. That's a great combination there with Micah.
And I understand that, but I'll leave you alone. I mean, I'll leave you and talk to you when I get a chance, man.
Right.
And I appreciate it. Later.
All right, man. All right, Lewis. Hold it down there in Langston, Oklahoma. Let's keep it moving here. We're going to go to California. We got Jonathan in Fullerton, California.
Morning, Nick.
How you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
Doing great here. Not as early as it is out there in California. Appreciate you calling us this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Just catching on my commute. I just wanted to call in and thank you for adding me to the
go.
I remember last season I was calling in a lot more at the beginning of the season. I was really excited. I got to view my first win in person after going to 10 games and finally seeing a win. But I was a little embarrassed when you're announcing the teams and you called my name and it sounded like you didn't really remember me calling in, and that's just because as the season went on, I kind of got less positive things. I felt like I wanted to contribute to the show, and nothing I could say could be said as well as Rob was saying it.
Right.
So I just wanted to personally say that you added me on the StoryLiners team, that inspired me that there is still joy to be had as a fan, even if you don't have positive expectations for the season. I think we might do fine, whatever. There's so many variables, the new head coach and staff and everything, but despite all maybe some low expectations for the upcoming season, there's still a joy to be had. Before, I wasn't thinking about driving over to Oxnard, but now I do.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah, just to see you again and maybe shake your hand. I'm gonna see maybe if I get that tumbler, I can get your autograph on it, just to make it special.
All right. Well, I don't know if it's the best thing to have autographed, but we can figure something out there. But yeah, hey, you're on it. And first team, the captains on the first team get exactly the same thing as the third teamers do. So you're on the team, and we appreciate it. You appreciate the call. And hey, I know how tough it is, especially when you're in California, and it's a little different from a time zone standpoint to call early in the mornings when our show is. I appreciate the callers that we have all over the world. I would say country, but all over the world. We've had 2 calls from out of the country today. But I appreciate all the calls. And I get it. There's people on the list that called 20 times in the first month. And I'm like, oh, my God, he's going to be a captain. And the next thing you know, something happens. Life happens. And you work more, take a different shift. My man Joe in Stanford, I mean, he called all the time when we first started, and now he can't call as much anymore. I get it. That doesn't mean you're not as dedicated. Doesn't mean you don't listen when you can. Totally appreciate that. But that being said, the callers is what drives the show. So we appreciate you call when you can, and appreciate the guys that call every show, whatever works for your schedule. Glad it happened. Glad you're on it. And, yeah, look forward to seeing you guys and a lot of guys at training camp this year. All right, let's go to Ali in Florida.
And I get those people on the list
Ali.
that were... Hello.
What's up, man?
Sir. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Pretty good, sir. Couple questions.
Right.
My concern is Guyton on the left tackle. If he play up to par, I think we're going to have a very good chance to be able to finish with a great record. That's the only concern I have there. But everything else is just depend on the offensive line, how they're going to play. Second, I've got a question for you. I have 4 or 5 different assignments assigned to photograph a lot of tribal region in Africa, Papua New Guinea, and Amazon in the summertime. So I was thinking, if you since you want to promote the show, I was hoping to get a little small flag or little writing on the StoryLiner, and then give it to the tribe with all the painted faces, and they'd make a shout out to a StoryLiner so I can text it or maybe send it to Chris. So you can promote the show in Africa in 4 or 5 different regions in the summertime. If you I would love to do that, but with your permission. So that's what I have. Then also, I'm photographing a Pope Leo in July. If you know anybody from mom or your wife, they're Catholic, I told Chris as well. If you need any rosary, I'll be more than glad to bring you some. Other than that, love you, brother.
Okay.
Talk to you later.
All right, see you later. We can talk about some of that stuff down the line. Now, you asked about Guyton, or you said that you think he's the key. Yeah, I agree. I mean, and they don't have a ton of options there. If it's not him on the roster, then it would be Awesome Richards, or maybe they've got some the guys. Is it Hakeem Adeniji? I think that's how you say his name. He's a veteran that's been around a little bit, kind of a journeyman type guy. But they're putting a lot of, they're putting a lot of expectations in Tyler Guyton. He's got to be the guy here. And I think that how he goes is how this offense is going to go for the most part, because I mean you got to keep your quarterback protected. You got to trust it. And you think about how good. I mean, nothing against. I mean, Jason Witten's a Hall of Famer. If Jason Witten didn't have Pro Bowl left tackles, I mean Flozell was there early, and then Tyron Smith. And, I mean, he had great tackles. And if you have great tackles, then you don't have to stay in and block. You can go and make catches and make plays. And so I think the better that your tackles are, the better this offense can be, because you don't have to help. And then these tight ends with the receivers that they have on the outside, I think Ferguson Schoonmaker can be very, very good. But if they're having to stay in and help chip block, then maybe not as much. So I think as good as Guyton and Steele are, I think that's what's going to be how good the Cowboys offense will be this year. All right, let's take one more break here on Cowboys Storyline. We'll be right back after this.
Cowboys fans, when it comes to navigating the ever-changing world of tax, your business needs a partner it can trust to tackle even your biggest tax challenges. Ryan is the largest firm in the world dedicated exclusively to business taxes. Our team of tax professionals has local expertise in all areas of tax and can help you uncover savings opportunities you didn't know you had. Learn more about how Ryan can improve your overall corporate tax performance by visiting Ryan.com. Ryan, the official tax partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
There is no I in Dallas. There is no I in Hart either. No I in Blue Star or in Lone Star for that matter. And there's no I in how about them Cowboys? Smirnoff knows there's no I in football. Football is a we thing, an experience that is best enjoyed together. With good drinks and good folks, home or away, we rally together. We cry together. And we always rally cry together, because there's definitely no I in Cowboys fans. Smirnoff, we do game days. Please drink responsibly.
To Cowboys Storyline.
Welcome back to Cowboys Storyline. This segment is presented by Yeti. Officially licensed Yeti Cowboys gear is now available at Stadium and Pro Shops concession and on Yeti.com. In case you're wondering, the Yetis are getting close to being on the way. Still got to package them together, getting all of the addresses together. Want to do it all at once. Well, I would hope we're less than a week before we can send those out. If I can get Chris to come help me, it might be better. But anyways, he's got 8 podcasts to run. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's go back to Ronnie. He's in New Jersey. Ronnie, what's up? He's going to get one of those Yetis. Ronnie.
Good morning, Nick. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Pretty good, Nick. Nick, I just heard you speaking about you guys were talking about the offensive lineman. I didn't get to call in last week. I didn't realize it was switched to
moved it to Thursday. That's right.
So I didn't get to say anything about the schedule. Nick, I not for nothing, but usually like for like a third, when you're like third or fourth in your division, right? You should get an easier schedule. It's like the NFL did us no favors. It's like we played and it's like we were in first place. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on with this schedule?
Well,
I think
you got to, but think about it like this: when you have 17 games, 3 of the 17 games are really against what you did last year. So if you're a first-place team, then you're going to play 3 first-place teams. If you're a third-place team, you're going to play 3 third-place teams. Now, it just so happens that the Cowboys are also they're facing 2 divisions that had 3 teams in the playoffs. So
yeah.
Your third place games that because of where you finished, if I'm doing this correctly, your third place games are against the let's see, it's the Panthers, the Jets, and I'm missing one of the Cardinals. Panthers, Jets, and Cardinals. Those are your three because you finished third. Those are the three. Everything else it would have been the same whether you were finished first, second, third, or fourth. So.
Yeah, is that and the way our schedule was made? Because it's almost like
that's a problem.
We're getting no breaks. It's like there's no breaks in that schedule. To be honest with you, yeah, they'll give us a 10-day break here, but then you're playing. Well, I think we're playing like 2 or 3 times this season, back to back, within like, what is it? Within like 4 days or something like that. We got to play. I think we play Kansas City, and then Philadelphia first, and then Kansas City is like a turnaround, like within like a short amount of time. It's ridiculous. That part of the schedule, I just didn't appreciate. I just thought we got the other end of the stick on that, because they did it throughout the season. It's kind of based like that. So they did us no favors when it comes to the schedule. It's all right. We're going to play those teams, but man, give us a break. At least let us get don't promote health. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't promote, we're going for safety and all this stuff. And then you give us, out of everybody, you give us this schedule. So I'm sorry, but yeah, I didn't appreciate the schedule too much. When it comes to the competition, I heard you mention about the offensive tackles, and I really would love to see if they gave Austin Richards a chance to play either the left, to battle it out for the left tackle or the right tackle, because they keep on promoting best five. All right, let's see what everybody's got. Let's see if just because this kid was a late first round pick doesn't mean he's gonna take over and just give it to him. Make him battle for it. Make Austin Richards look pretty good before he got hurt last year. So I was kind of disappointed when he did get hurt. And you know me, Nick, until we could stop that run, man, I want to see what we got in our nose tackle. If we could stop the run, I don't care about cornerback. I don't care about any other position. If we could stop the run, because you could always, with your scheme, cover your guys in the cornerbacks and stuff like that if they're at least decent. So stopping that run is number one priority for me. So thanks for taking my call.
All right, Ronnie.
Hope to talk to you next week.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks for the call. Couple things about what you mentioned about the schedule. You're right. They play 4 games on Thursday nights. I don't think that's ever happened. I know it hadn't happened with the Cowboys. I don't know if any other team has done that. Of those 4 games, 2 of them are going to be short weeks. Obviously, the Philly game to start the season, that's just the first game. So that's not a short week. You got. I mean, you can start preparing right now for Philly. And they're going to give it to Barkley, and they're going to, if it's 3rd and 1 or 2 or 4th and 1, they're going to do a tush push. So you can start preparing for that. The other Thursday games, obviously Thanksgiving, that's a short week. This is the first time in a long time that the Cowboys are actually playing at home before Thanksgiving. Usually, because they are always at home, and the road teams coming in, they have to be. The Cowboys have been on the road there, but this one now it's Philly, so it's not like it's a huge break, but they are home there. So that is a short week. Then after Thanksgiving, then the next Thursday is the Lions. So it's not a short week, but you don't get a break after playing the Super Bowl champions, then the Super Bowl runners up, and then in a week now you got to go to face Detroit, and who embarrassed you last year, and they were the number 1 seed in the NFC. So you got to go up against them. So, and then the next Thursday game is Christmas Day. That's a short week. You're playing at home against the Chargers, and then going there at Washington, which my family loves that schedule. They love that I'm going to be in Washington on Christmas Day. I know Beam's probably the same way. Yay for Christmas on the road. All right, let's go to and then one more thing you said about Austin Richards and Tyler Guyton and hoping that they don't hand it to him. Tyler Guyton got benched last year for Chuma Edoga. And this is a different coaching staff, but they had to play a different guy because he just wasn't ready. So I don't think they're going to hand it to anybody. If Awesome Richards is better, then now he's going to have to do it with limited reps. It's not the easiest thing to do at offensive line is to beat out somebody ahead of you when they're trying to build continuity and chemistry at the same time. It's hard to do that. But if he's better, then he'll play, and that's probably the same with just about everybody. All right, let's go to Greg in Sacramento.
Hey, Nick, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. I've been trying to call in for a while. But they're kind of a lot. I'll try to keep it short. But the very first thing I want to say is just give a shout out to Randy.
Sure.
I hope his recovery is going great. Randy, we're all pulling for you, bro. And then I wanted to thank you and Chris for adding me to the All StoryLine team.
Yeah.
I was when I didn't hear my name called in the honorable mentions. I'm like, oh man, maybe I'll try harder next year. And I heard you say the third team All StoryLine. I was like, oh yeah, that's great.
There you go. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, we'll be sending you that Yeti, and we appreciate you. I know I got to meet you and your son, I believe, at training camp last year on the fence. I don't know if you're going to be able to make it down to camp again, but always.
Yeah, definitely. I want to remember. I wanted to come get a book from you. You said you're going to have have
some.
A book for me, or have some way for me to get one, and that'd be great.
All right, I'm bringing some books. This year, I'll bring some books up there. I know we're gonna have a few people from the StoryLine crew that'll be there. That I'm like anxious. I'm anxious about that, and I'm a little scared about how that's gonna go down. But
I think it'll go well. I mean, everybody's pretty amicable. It seems like on Twitter. I know discussions get heated, but it's all in love for the Cowboys. So I'm sure it'll be great.
All right. Well, we'll see. So what do you got? Just so you know, and I don't know if you heard this, but you said shout out to Randy, or a lot of people. Yes. Randy called today. I don't know if you got to hear that part. Randy called and gave a little bit of an update. So, sometimes people that call are so busy calling that they don't get to hear the show.
Yep.
Randy did call, and he's doing pretty good. So that you go back.
Oh man, that's awesome. I'll definitely go back and listen. Yeah, for sure. That's great to hear. Thanks for that update, because I didn't get to hear that. I was trying to call in. So
yeah.
But anyway, so just really quick, I know, like I said, I had a lot of stuff. I'll just hit on a few quick points that I haven't been able to talk about. I love the Schottenheimer pickup. I love the Pickens pickup. And I actually have a question for you on Pickens. So a lot of people are. Like, I've been hearing a lot of comparisons of him to Dez Bryant or whatever it is, as far as his, his emotions or his love for the game and everything like that.
Yeah.
So my question for you is, remember in training camp when Dez Bryant and Jordan Lewis kind of got into it like that, the competitive wise?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, who do you think in our DBs is going to be the Jordan Lewis to the George Pickens, Dez Bryant? Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense, and it's an important question because it's not just who's going to battle. It's who's going to be your ass kicker on defense? Who's going to be that dog? And that's great to have, because the offense just can't punk the defense every time out, because everyone knows it, that when we get to the games, they're going to roll over. So Dez didn't win all of those battles all the time, and he made those guys better.
Exactly.
Who is it going to be? I mean,
yeah, who do you think is going to be?
I'm looking right now. I'll tell you who has the personality for it. But if Jordan Lewis couldn't play slot corner, then he wouldn't be the guy. You know what I mean? It's the same with calling anybody a leader. Nobody that wasn't a great player wasn't considered a great leader. So you have to do that first. Mentality-wise, I don't think anyone's gonna be punking Wanye Thomas. Okay, but is he good enough to you have to back it up? You know what I mean? You can sit there and talk all day long. I mean, the Cowboys had a cornerback that actually threw some hands with Dez and caught him. I don't know if you remember a guy named Tyler Patman, but He got in a fight. If I remember correctly, he got in a fight at training camp with Dez. I think I'd give him a 10-9 on that round. But was he a great player? Like, no. You know what I mean? Like, so you've got to be able to back it up here. So who that person is, Donovan Wilson's not taking any crap from anyone. I mean, any of these guys are. But it's a great question because who is going to develop it? Because if they're going to sit there and talk and talk and talk and talk, at some point you want your defensive guys to say enough is enough. Who that person is, I don't know yet. But I wouldn't have picked one Jordan Lewis either until he kind of developed into that. But you got to be a great player. You got to be a great player. You can't just sit there and talk it if you're not going to walk it for sure. Great question.
Yeah, thank you. And I like I like how Jordan Lewis. He kind of was a lot smaller, I think, than Dez, right? So I like that size didn't matter. That Jordan Lewis was there to just push him.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that someone on the defense, like you said, will step up and just kind of not just with Pickens, but with the other receivers too. With CD and kind of challenge this offense. But yeah. And then I just want to mention the schedule. Why does it feel like it's a first place schedule? Man, it's some tough games and. In advance, I just want to say I appreciate you guys. I know you guys are going to have to travel on Christmas, and you guys are going to have to travel on, or work the Thanksgiving game, which you guys already do. But man, it's just it's brutal for both you guys and the players, it seems. So.
Well,
but anyway, thanks, Nick. Thanks for taking my call. I really appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thank you. All right, sounds good. To answer the part about the schedule, I did talk about it, about why it's from a third place schedule standpoint, you're facing the Jets, Panthers, and Cardinals. Why it feels like a first place schedule is because you get matched up against three divisions every year. I mean, where you play everyone in the division. Obviously, NFC East is one of them, and you play them twice. That's a given. And then you play one NFC division and then one AFC one. Why it feels so bad is because the NFC division that you matched up with has three playoff teams from last year, including the number one seed in Detroit, then Minnesota, then Green Bay, and then the Bears, who I think everyone thinks are going to be a lot better with the new coach, and they got a good young quarterback. And so that's four teams from the NFC North. Then you've got the AFC West, which just so happens to have the Chiefs. And then the Chargers and the Broncos both made the playoffs. And then you've got the Raiders who, that they're probably a lot like the Bears, where you're like, well, they got a new coach and new excitement, and that's going to be interesting too. So that's your two divisions, not to mention your own division that has two teams in the NFC Championship game. So you got to face them 4 times total. And then the Giants, who they've added some pieces too. So that's why it feels the way it is the divisions that you matched up against are, if my math is correct, that's 8 playoff teams, and then you play 2 of them twice. So that's 10 games right there that you have to face. 3, and then 4 of your division games. So 10 games right there. That's why it feels like a first place schedule. All right, let's go to Jeff in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Hey, Nick, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Hey, good. Long time. It's been a while since I talked to you.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Just a couple of comments before my question. I don't know if you guys have discussed this today. I just got on, but in regards to the coaching change with Schottenheimer, at first I was a little skeptical, but after hearing Schottenheimer over the off season and all that, I think we got a good opportunity to maybe find someone, maybe a hidden gem with him. He seems like the players seem like they respect him, and I like his fire. I like his energy so far, so I'm kind of excited about seeing what he can do this year. I really was happy with the draft. I love the fact that once the wide receiver was taken early, I thought going best BPA was fantastic. I'm with you. I loved replenishing that guard spot to replace Zach Martin during retirement. I thought that was great, and I really loved the first 3 picks. I think we got 3 potential starters right there.
Yeah.
But my question for you, I know in past shows you guys have talked about the secondary, and just based on last season and how we had that revolving door at corner with all the injuries once Diggs went down, I still feel it's a little concerning, especially with Diggs probably going to be winding up on PUP and then losing Jordan Lewis. In your opinion, is there anybody outside of Bland that could potentially move into the slot and play that position and let us keep Bland outside? I know he would prefer to play outside, but he seems like a team guy. He's willing to move back inside if necessary. It just seems like we're still kind of in that position that we were last year with the injuries. We have one solid starter, but now we're also down our slot with Jordan Lewis being gone. So
Right.
If you could possibly touch on that subject a little bit, I'll take your answer off air, and hopefully I can get in with you later on. Nick, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Good to hear from you. Thanks for the call, Jeff. That's another really good question about who can be the slot guy. Now, I think that Elam, it has the potential for that. Kyer Elam. Now, of course, he's another outside guy too. So you're talking about moving, outside and inside. But it's not the worst thing in the world to have a guy move inside, because think of it like this: if you have a great receiver that can line up in the slot, then he's looking for mismatches. And so the greatest players are the ones that can line up all over the place. So you kind of want a guy that can line up with them. It's not the worst thing to have a Bland that can slide inside, and especially if it's like, we need you to guard this guy. You're going against Washington. Here's Debo, or here's Terry McLaurin, or whatever. And they're going to line up all over the place. Well, I want my guy to line up all over the place too, because I don't want them just finding the mismatch. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay. At least you have a guy that can play inside. Now, in a perfect world, you got two great ones on the outside, and then you got one on the inside. That's kind of what they had with Lewis. I don't think they felt really comfortable with Lewis playing on the outside all the time. I think Elam can do it. We'll see if Kalen Carson's that type of guy. And when he gets healthy, if Revel can be that, because he's played a lot of different places. Now, we saw Mukwamu in there. Again, that's kind of more of a safety. But we'll see how Eberflus does this, and maybe he has a different tricks up his sleeve. But good question. I don't know if it's a huge problem right this second, because you want to have 3 or 4 good corners that can do it, and ideally you'd like to have 2 that can line up in the slot. I know Bland can do it. Not sure about the second guy just yet. So a great question. I've had a couple in a row that are like good questions that we still need to figure out here. All right, let's go. This will be our last caller here. Lester in Minnesota.
Good morning, Nick.
How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Hey, I still got some concerns about our defensive tackle. I'm the offensive and defensive line guy. I think the 7-round picks are, I guess, will be okay. But what are you hearing about that? Also, I think that we should, as far as our offensive line, if it works really well, I think we should. I know they say they want to run the ball, but I think we really should run the ball, because, like I was saying before, in the 90s we were a run-heavy team. I don't know the percentages, but I watched them a lot, so I'm going to say it probably was like 52 run, 48 pass, but it was real close, 50-50, something like that. And then just to comment on, I think the first caller about when he commented about Rob and his favorite player. My favorite player played for the Raiders at cornerback. He had the same name I get, Lester Hayes. So I don't know if that really matters, but I just want to throw that in there. So what do you think, Nick?
Well, I think it's okay to have a favorite player from another team or whatever. I loved watching Michael Jordan too, but when they played the Mavericks, I cheered for the Mavericks. That's the kind of the way that it is. They didn't really have a player like that, so I get it. But as long as you're pulling for your team and not so much the player.
Yeah, I've always been a Cowboy man, but like I said, in high school I played corner, so I modeled my game after Lester Hayes.
That's awesome. I'm sure you got a penalty or 5 there. Awesome. I'll answer the defensive tackle position. Is that what you were asking about, defensive tackle? From what I'm hearing, I mean, they like these guys. They like Jay Toya. They like Mozzie. Only time will tell if that's. We'll find out when we get when the pads come on at training camp, and we'll see if they can hold up, and we'll see if they're if somebody's giving Tyler Smith some problems, then maybe it's going to be pretty good. If someone's having a hard time with a Nate Thomas or and no offense to these guys that are backups, but we'll find out at training camp just how these guys can perform. So.
All right.
All right.
And then, again, until we get a good to great offensive and defensive line at the same time, this is what we got, Cowboys.
All right.
Go Cowboys.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Lester, appreciate the call. Appreciate all of the calls. That was our last one of the day. We're going to stay tuned on the DallasCowboys.com podcast here because we've got the Cowboys break coming up soon here in about 10 or 15 minutes. So check that show out. But we will be back next Wednesday, regular schedule for us, and want to hear from you guys as well. We had a great show. We had a first-time caller. We had a couple of callers from overseas, and Randy called in. Not to mention all the others as well. Good stuff. Great to hear from you guys as always, and we'll talk about it next Wednesday on Cowboys Storyline. All right. So for Chris Beam, I'm Nick Eben. We'll see you next week.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?